Mm-hmm.
But he moved to New York.
Mm-hmm. Who moved to New York, Daddy?
Jack Kent Cook did, the
Mm-hmm.
owner, the one who built the Fabulous Forum is called.
Mm-hmm.
It is now right across the road. If you go this next street over,
Mm-hmm.
92nd Street,
Mm-hmm.
if you make, when you get to Crenshaw, which is about roughly a mile from here,
Mm-hmm.
you dead in into Crenshaw.
Okay.
You have to either turn left
All
or
right.
right.
Mm-hmm.
You can't go no further that way.
Right.
But if you go right, one long block, turn left,
Mm-hmm.
and you're going to go right between the Fabulous Forum on the right and that super billion, $5 billion elephant on the left. Because that's what it costs.
Why you call it elephant?
Well, anybody put that much money in a building, you know. But anyway, you go right between them, and on both sides, you know, you got nothing but sport entertainment stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that was worked out between the owner of the Dodgers, the Rams,
Mm-hmm.
mostly the Rams owner, because he's the one that was the millionaire. And but he had to get I think about $1 billion from the city to finish it out.
Mm.
Of course, I don't think he was broke, but you know,
He wasn't trying to do it by himself.
because like I understand Oprah's got $5 to $8 million,
Mm-hmm.
and that, you know, when you take $5 billion out of that, it's a big company.
Mm-hmm.
And of course they don't operate with, they operate on what their worth is. It's your Uncle Billy Roy and
Who?
your Uncle Billy Roy and what do you call it when you come back again?
Reincarnate?
Yeah, reincarnation. He bought that darn thing here too.
Okay, you digress. You were giving me forum update and
And,
all of that. Anyway, I see where I get it from, but go ahead.
but anyway, if you go to the next street over and turn right, go a long block by the firehouse, make a left turn, go right between those two
Mm-hmm.
multi-billion-dollar facilities.
Mm-hmm.
The Fabulous Forum is no longer fabulous anymore across the street from that fabulous billion.
Oh.
I want to see it because they brag about it now, but it's not completed.
Mm.
There's supposed to be a shopping mall in there.
That's the one you drove me by that time and it was under construction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the city of Inglewood, I don't know where they already were.
Mm-hmm.
They've been broke since they turned black.
Oh, Dad.
Well, when I moved here, you and I couldn't live where we are right now.
Yeah.
It was just not allowed. If when one of us moved, I understand in this particular area, right over, turn right at the corner, go one block and cross the street on the right, I understand that guy was the first black in the general area.
Mm-hmm.
And he looked like a Louisiana Frenchman. He was light skinned.
Light skinned.
Yeah. And when I say light skinned, he was lighter than you and I.
Oh, so he was white.
Well,
But he was black white.
He was right like that. You know.
Oh, Lord. Dad.
You never did see nothing. You never did see nothing.
You talking about my grandfather.
Yeah.
I have the picture.
Well, him.
He looked like the master of the plantation.
Well, actually, he was a lighter, I think, than his father. And his father, according to the DNA, and I go with the science, say he had no black blood in him.
Shut up.
He lived as a mulatto. And I think I told you this, but just in case I didn't, I'm convinced after taking the DNA test,
Yeah.
he was raised by a black woman who said he was her biological son by a white man. But that's a lie.
Ooh. I remember you telling me that story.
That was, her name was Jane.
Yeah.
Jane was African. Helen. She wasn't total of absolutely African. She was as African as you get, and not be from Africa.
Right.
And but I'm convinced that for some reason, the white family that he was born into, Lewis was born into, didn't want him. Here again, your generations. And
His dad was white.
It's not,
She was black. The dad was white. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not absolutely out of the rhyme of reason that it can't even happen today. See, she was his slave, the slave of a family named Roberts, Roberts. And the way I visualize it is that one of the daughters of somebody in the family had this kid, and the owner of Jane says, "I'm not raising this bastard in my house. Give him to that. We'll just give him to that nigga slave, and she can raise him." And so he was her son by gift. So you got a hell lot more white than you, what you know here.
You said, look, you didn't already told me I'm not black, so I'm just whatever. I'm European, Dad. What does that mean?
What you are is a mixed human being.
I'm a mix.
A whole lot of everything. If I can find, I hope I can find that. And I can.
The Ancestry.
Keep that one blood in there for moving my stuff around. So I can't throw it for me to find. But if you see that graph, his DNA started right where Israel is located, present day Israel.
Whoa.
And it went east.
Okay.
For, I don't know, maybe 800,000 miles. It went way over, almost through India.
Okay. Ooh.
And then it, for some reason, I guess it got too much sand in his eyes, and so he turned around and said, "I don't want to go in and put too much sand in my eyes." I heard a joke about why Chinese and Japanese had slanted eyes because of all the sand.
Stop that. You digress. Okay.
But anyway, he turned around and came back, but it went about 102 miles north and came through what is now southern Russia and the Balkan states, and it went just above the Mediterranean Sea, and it looked like it was inland for a few miles inland, but it never did drop south Mediterranean Sea. It went all the way through Italy, across Italy.
I love Italy.
To Spain and Portugal. And got to Portugal and said, "Oh, hell, that's the ocean out there." Turn around and go back. So he made a U-turn in Portugal. In Portugal, and you know, it's not that wide. And he just hopped across the ocean, and Daddy used to call it the pond, to Wales, England. That's
where you picked up the cousins and all of that from on the Ancestry.
Yeah, and then they in turn came to America, somewhere around, probably around North or South Carolina. And you know, history, a lot of times we kind of forget when we were a kid in school as to most of it I did. And I was a history nut and geography nut too. But it came to it's because North, at first there was only one Carolina. That was Carolina, and then they split it with North and South. You know that. And but his family wound up in southern Mississippi. His records in Crockett, I'm told, I didn't see it, but Lorraine said it did, showed he was born in 1840 by parents unknown. Did not give a city or a county, just southern Mississippi by parents unknown. And so when David, that's the white guy, and we
Mhm.
contact.
You called him on Facebook or Messenger or something. Didn't you call?
I think it seems to me I talked to him once or twice by phone, but most of the time I was just texting.
Mm-hmm.
And but I text him 3 or 4 times a year, and he answers.
You responds? Okay.
Huh?
Say he responds?
Well, actually, he was the first one that contacted us.
Oh.
It went in, the DNA went in my name, but I went in with Mama's name and Daddy's name.
Mm-hmm.
And when it came back, the DNA came back. It came back in 2 courts. Came back the male court first.
Mm-hmm.
No, the female court first.
Mm-hmm.
And that was Mama's DNA.
Mm-hmm.
And it showed that she was part white and part Arabic, part everything in Africa. Pretty
Oh.
much. Just a mixture of all of Africa, about 6 or 8 different locations in Africa
Mhm.
where she came from. Now, having said that about Mama, the people that she was closest to, kin-wise, when she was born, they were white. Durans, D-U-R-E-N-S. There was a whole bunch of those Durans. They settled in Tennessee. And then, when I called John, he was in D.C.
Mm-hmm.
at the time. I said, John, I only got one side, I only got Mom's side. I said, what about that side? He said, you got a surprise coming.
Uh-oh.
I said, well, what's that, John?
Oops.
He said, no, I want you to wait and see. So 3 or 4 days, a week later, here comes Daddy's DNA showing Grandpa with no African DNA. None.
Straight up white?
Yeah.
Ooh. Okay.
And but on Daddy's mother's side, she looked whiter than Grandpa.
Wow.
She looked real white.
Real white.
She
Oh,
had,
okay, Dad. All
she
right.
had
Well.
this hair like they used to have in the movies.
Oh, with the little
Long hair,
bouffant up there.
golden red. She had that. That was on her picture. They had a
Oh,
picture
wow.
about
About the size of it?
That big
Mm-hmm.
glass there. On either side, the fireplace.
Oh,
On
wow.
This side of the fireplace was Grandpa's picture. On
Mhm.
that side was Grandma's picture.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're looking at it, she looked like she was the whitest.
Wow.
And I'm told, and we,
If she was whiter than Grandpa?
if you look white,
Dad.
and
He white.
her,
I have his photo.
her picture, her
Mixed bag.
background, according to what I'm told, was her mother was a half-breed.
Mm.
Now, I don't know whether she was an African half-breed and a European half-breed, or if there was some mixture there already. But
Mm-hmm.
they were Dunigans. And then my mama had her by a white Allen, whom I tried to find his picture in that phone.
Mm-hmm.
It's in my phone. Boy,
Mm-hmm.
Run the suit he got on. But anyway, his name was John Allen.
How did? Okay, so take me to Crockett. No, not Crockett. Wichita Falls.
You don't want to go there, but
What?
I'm
I'm trying to make the connection. You got me all the way from Wales and all of that.
Get you from Wales,
Carolina,
to
Tennessee.
down to southern
How the
Mississippi.
heck
Now,
we
wait a
get to
minute, wait a
Texas?
minute. Daddy's side, southern Mississippi.
Mm.
They came in on ship probably in Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
Because the ships they landed
Came,
in
yeah.
different
Mm-hmm.
states.
Different, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And he was since his Kenridge decided to give him to the nigger woman. He was being treated as a slave, as a mulatto.
Okay.
Like those light-skinned
Mm-hmm.
Indians.
Yep. Give me to Texas.
I'm trying to get you to Texas with Grandpa.
Oh, with
And
Grandpa.
when Stephen Austin brought 360 white families, not people, families,
Oh.
plus slaves, and we don't know how many slaves there were,
Mm-hmm.
into Texas with this deal they made with Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
Texas belonged to Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
That's the reason why when they holler, it used to be ours, and hell, you don't deserve it because you did nothing with it. Literally gave it away. When I studied history, probably when you studied it showed that after Santa Anna killed all those 175, 200 people at the Alamo, David Crockett and what were some of the others? Jim Bowie and Colonel I can't think of his name right now. But anyway, the noted ones, the one who had some sort of rank. So David Crockett had once been a congressman.
That's
from
what
Tennessee.
That's what I was thinking. Crockett. Go ahead.
And so but anyway, when Stephen Austin made this deal, and by the way, Stephen Austin got a deal for not 40 acres and a mule. He got a deal for 80 acres and 4 mules, 2 wagons.
80 acres, 4 mules, and 2 wagons.
And after 12 or 14 years, all slaves would become free. Any kids born would be born free.
Free. Mm-hmm.
And because Mexico was not a slave country.
So the child that was born of the white male, who that family did not want him because he was mixed, gave him to the black female.
I didn't say he was mixed. I didn't say he was mixed. I said for some unknown reason, and I can visualize it because I visualized how old folk were when I was around them, even the blacks. When I raised that bastard in my house, given to the nigger slave.
Oh.
So he gave his white kin to Jane,
to Jane, yeah.
who was a black
Was
slave.
black slave, yeah.
And,
who was the mother?
Who was not the mother until they gave him to her.
Oh.
They had no children.
Oh, oh. It's like all my children.
So they gave Lewis Hall to her to raise as her own, because we don't want some of whatever, you know. And Jane, in turn, had some more kids. Her next kid of actuality was named Sarah. Now, Sarah's last name was Keylo, Keylo, or something like that. And then...
Are we in Texas yet?
Yeah, yeah, but after they gave him to those slaves, after the white folk gave Lewis to the slaves, I'm thinking, during the time when Stephen Austin was gathering up white folk and slaves, taking them to basically the main destination was San Antonio.
Okay.
And so they left.
I remember you telling me about the San Antonio part.
St. Augustine was the last town out of Louisiana that they left, which is not too far from where your mother came from.
Okay.
And they came on through Nacogdoches, which is the oldest town in Texas. I don't know if you knew that or not.
No, I didn't.
And then the Nacogdoches was a tribe of Indians. That's where the name came from.
Ah, that's why where the Indian reservation is up there, isn't it?
No, there's an Indian...
up near Cleveland?
There may be one there.
There's one, I think it's on the other side of Cleveland now.
The Tehaz Indians were located just across the Nature's River. If you leave Crockett and go Highway 21, that was the road that Stephen Austin used from St. Augustine to Nacogdoches,
Okay.
to Alto, and then to Crockett, Madisonville, San Marcos, San Antonio,
Mm-hmm.
and some of them even went on to set up.
So when the slaves got free, how did Lewis Hall? What did he do with his family? How he end up
Well,
in?
what happened, so they tell me, and I think this is probably true, is that when they freed him, then he went back to Mississippi and got Jane,
Ah,
who was
his
like
mama.
that,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
and her daughter, Sarah.
Okay.
Now, somewhere after that, some short time after that, she met and married a guy named Bob Hall.
I remember you telling me about that part. Okay.
And they were married and they had one son.
Bob Hall, Lewis. What was Lewis' last name?
Probably Lewis.
No
Probably,
way.
hey, back then, a lot of times the people would give you a name. I said a name.
A name.
And because what they normally would do, like they did one of my cousins, and he was kin to Grandma Mandy. His daddy and Grandma Mandy, daddy were brothers. But anyway,
So are
they
we?
would say Louis, and his last name would be
What his mama or whoever
whatever
raised
the
him?
slave owners was.
Well,
In other
well,
words,
yeah,
they say
yeah.
Louis, that nigger slave Louis Roberts. That would have been his
Slave owner name.
slave owner's name.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they did most of the time.
Mm-hmm. But ultimately, he ended up a Hall because Jane married
Jane
Bob.
married Bob
Yeah, gotcha.
Hall.
And so he
But
just
she-
picked up their last name.
But she already had a daughter by the name of Kilo,
Mm-hmm.
which I couldn't put together before I got this
The
DNA,
DNA. Mm-hmm.
and grown and started using my head.
Mm-hmm.
There was some talk, because I asked Daddy, I think I told you this, but I didn't, I asked him once. When Uncle Bob, when I was 3 years old, Uncle Bob came and spent a weekend with us, a couple of nights.
Mm-hmm.
Uncle Bob was not black as this.
Okay.
Well, he was close if he wasn't. And then the next year, he came and stayed a couple of nights. Daddy, because when it dawned on me, because I was a nosy little fella.
Yeah, well, I can imagine.
And I said, Dad, I might have been a year older by the time I asked him. I said, was really Jane Burke's son? That's Uncle Bob.
Yeah, the colors didn't
Yeah,
match.
that jumped out at me. And he said, well, boy, I don't know. I asked him, it was probably 3 or 4 years later, because we weren't as quick to ask our parents stuff as you would be.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, he said, I don't know. I asked him when I was around about your age, and I think I was around 8 or 9 when I asked him.
Mm.
Was Grandpa Lewis really Jane Burke's son? And he said, I don't know. I said, he said, when I was about your age, I asked him that, and his words to me were, I don't know if that old black woman's my mama or not. She says she is.
Oh, wow. So maybe they never told him the details?
They didn't tell him.
Oh, wow.
Told you wouldn't have known if it hadn't been for
The DNA.
DNA.
Mm-hmm.
And but I have a feeling that those Roberts, the family,
Mm-hmm.
were kin to Robin Roberts,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe even John Roberts.
Robin Robbins? Like ABC Robin Robbins? Who
Yes,
is- Okay,
probably.
yeah. You did
So
tell me
they
about
were-
that.
They're from Mississippi.
Okay.
I know everyone. And one of those hurricanes, I think it was, what was that bad one? That washed away New Orleans pretty much.
Katrina?
Yeah, Katrina. I think that's
Oh,
the
that's
one.
right, because she did go down there, didn't
Because
she?
her grandmother was living down there, and she had to go down there and check.
I
on her
remember
mother.
that. I do,
But
I remember
think
that.
She lost, pretty much lost what she had down there in that time.
Mm-hmm.
But so that that may be the same group of Roberts, and of course the Roberts, the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, Roberts too,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm.
But
So you're saying that Lewis went back, got Jane and her daughter, and
and
brought
brought it
them back.
to they didn't get to Crockett. They stopped in a place called New Boston, which they changed the name after for some reason to Augusta.
Augusta, Texas.
Yeah, Augusta. So you had little towns from Nacogdoches. That's a
Mm-hmm.
pretty good sized town, a little bit bigger than Crockett, a lot
Mm-hmm.
bigger now. It's like Lufkin, they kept growing, and Crockett stayed where it was.
Okay.
But when I was there. But anyway, when you left Nacogdoches, you went through first little town of it. It might have been a settlement or two, a few houses, but of any size was called Alto, ALTO,
Mm-hmm.
and it was right on the Nature's River, where Highway 21 crosses the Nature's River.
Mm-hmm.
That's where Alto is, and that's right there, just about a mile or a mile and a half on the Nacogdoches side of there is where that Indian, it's not a reservation, but it's like more like a monument. They got Indian stuff, that's where that moved. And they were Tejas, Tejas,
Mm-hmm.
and they,
Tejas?
huh?
Teja. Okay, I know you're talking about.
And
Tejas.
their territory was around Alto and on your side, Houston side, Crockett side
Mm-hmm.
of the Nature's River, because when I was a kid, we went over there to one of those Catholic churches where they tried to turn the Indians into
Mm-hmm.
Catholics.
So I wanna close this out, and then later we'll pick it up because I wanna talk about like what your school days was like, because you went to school in Crockett. So who ended up in Crockett? Who's built a home in Crockett and
Well,
started raising a family in Crockett?
Well, actually, Crockett is sort of a sub. Lewis was actually, according to
And is there oil still running through there anyway with gas?
there is gas up there, but they managed to gerrymander it, so
They rerouted that gas from the black folk
away
to the
from
white.
black
Yeah.
place, because Vivian wrote a couple of nasty letters to Jim, what's his name, your congressman from there.
Mm-hmm.
But I read
Mm-hmm.
about doing that. He wrote her back and said some sort of lie, but they gerrymandered that because the way it was supposed to work is you got in the middle, you got it.
Somebody's coming to the door, Dad. We pause this.